Hey everybody.
Hey, welcome. Happy St. Patrick's Day.
Whoop
Is this
whoop.
is this the official holiday of lawn care people everywhere? Green. I guess four-leaf clovers are like the enemy a little bit, but
Yeah.
hey, happy March Madness season. Happy St. Patrick's Day. Welcome. We're glad you're here. Andy Tucker, dude, love to see you here. Really, really good. Welcome, Ryan. Tom, glad you're here. Like I got some decent shout outs from everyone, right? Like we know some of these peeps. I like it.
Heck yeah.
All right, I'm gonna give it 2 more minutes here. 2 more minutes before we kick off. Um, as always, questions are gonna show up here at below. You should have a little Q&A button in your Zoom call, or you can click on it, pop it up, and ask questions. We'll try to answer most of them in the flow of the conversation. But if you need to ask a question, anything, something random, feel free to drop it in there, and then we'll either answer it via chat or we'll answer it live. But more than anything, I'm just pumped to be here. Like, honestly, my joy is helping people to do more good in the world. And so the fact that we have a group here that's ready to like learn and grow and get going is very exciting. Um,
Yeah.
all right. I feel like I'm like want to be a man of action here and just say, let's go. Let's go. All right. So today we're going to be talking about our webinar is entitled Systematize or Suffocate: How to Build a Business That Runs Without You. There was always this promise. I used to teach this idea that was like a promise. And when we were selling marketing and automation sales systems years ago, I'd always say, if you had a system or you had a process that you could, it was like a little black box. Imagine a black box. You put $1 in one end and $3 comes out the other end. What would you do? It's like, well, I would get all of the money. I would steal from my grandma. I would literally take and grab all the money I could, and I would put it in this little black box. If it, I put $1 in and spit out $3 on the other end. And that's sort of the dream of a really well systematized, a really beautifully organized and structured business is the dream of creating a system, creating a box that if I put $1 in one end, $3 come out the other end. And that's effectively what we're going to talk about today is trying to get closer and closer to that ideal scenario where there's this golden goose that I feed it straw and it poops out eggs, golden eggs, right? It's like that's the goal is to get to that point where we have this so well structured and so well systematized. And I always joke, Sam, and I'll introduce Sam here in a minute, but I'd always joked that, I'm a San Francisco 49ers fan and their quarterback, Brock Purdy, was the last one picked in the draft. And he's turned out to be a really successful quarterback as in every measure, right? He's won a lot of games. He's been to a Super Bowl. Like he's done a lot of really good things. But the knock on him has always been, hey, the trouble is he's a system quarterback. System quarterback. He's not actually that good. He's a system. That's his knock. And to me, do you know what I feel about how I feel about that? I'm like, I don't care because he wins games. Whether he's a system quarterback or not, great systems will make average players look great. And so I'm so excited to discuss this idea, whether it's creating the goose that lays golden eggs or making average employees, average staff members look like Hall of Famers. Because we create great systems, all of those things are available to us. And so I get to introduce to you Sam Gustin. Many of you, most of you already know Sam. He's been in our community as one of our coaches. And candidly, probably the best systems thinker in the industry that I've met. And I know Sam's not going to like me flattering him too much because he prefers the army style of berating people, but it's really true. Like the Sam is one of the best systems thinkers that we've met. This may be the best content around the idea. And I've talked to companies that are massive, big $5, $10 million companies, all the way down to little guys. To me, this is simple, accessible. And so today, the promise is we're going to show you how to build systems in your business so that you can structure, organize them in a way that absolutely works for you. So, ladies and gentlemen, Sam Gustin.
Yeah. Thank you, Dan. And I am a Detroit Lions fan, and so
Yeah.
I wish we had any sort of system to win games
Yeah.
consistently. But no, thank you, Dan. And I'm just honored to be a part of this community and to speak on how I think through systems. Dan has made me feel so special in how I think through systems, and I've coached a few different clients on it, and it seems to be pretty impactful for them as well. So please stick around to the end of this webinar. I'm actually going to do a live build out of a system for you guys. And so as we get started, one thing I would like to know is just kind of who we're dealing with, who's on the call today. So in the chat, if you guys are, and whatever bucket you guys fall in, just throw that letter in that chat, and so we can kind of see who we're talking with. Let's
This
see.
is top line revenue, right? So top line
Yeah.
revenue for 2025. Where are you in this bucket? Because it does kind of edit the way that we talk to you. If
Yes.
there's more in the smaller group, then we'll talk a little differently than if they're more kind of in the bigger group. So throw those in the Q&A.
Yes.
Thanks for those of you who are doing it coming through. We have a couple of A's, a couple of D's.
Eric, my man.
In this case, D students are good, right?
D students. And that's all the kind of students I've ever been is D students, college dropout. That's
Awesome.
awesome, guys. Well, thank you for throwing that in there. As we get started, I like to use this analogy of bottleneck or just being absolutely suffocated by your business. So admittedly, this is DIY Mikey is what we'll call him today. DIY Mikey, he owns a job. And I'm sure anybody who's throwing an A in the chat can relate to DIY Mikey in a lot of senses. So this lawn care business owner, he knows how to do every single thing in the business. He's the best at everything. And I've been here. I'm sure a lot of people have also been here. We kind of take pride in it in a weird little way. Is like we
Yeah.
are the most important person in the business. The phone rings every day. We're picking up the phone. Our crews can't make decisions without us. We can't take a vacation. And if we were to get sick, our business will then get sick. So DIY Mikey, even though he's so proud that he is the most important person in his business, it's slowly strangling him. So if you relate to DIY Mikey, just say shout out to DIY Mikey in the chat. Me a few years ago would definitely be a DIY Mikey. And as we move forward, systems has allowed
Well,
DIY
and to be fair, Sam,
Mhm.
you have to be a DIY Mikey when you
Have to
start the business. There's no one else to delegate to, right? You're the
100%. Yes.
guy. But what's so important is like that you don't think like DIY Mikey. You may have to act like DIY Mikey, but what we're going to encourage you to do today is think differently.
Yeah, that's a good call out, Dan, because from like 0 to 250,000, probably more like 0 to 150,000, you are the solo operator in the business. There's no one else to potentially even wear a hat. It is after you make that decision where we're going to hire somebody and we're going to press the gas on this, where systems really become a priority, and thinking through systems becomes a priority, or else you're just going to
Yeah.
be like DIY Mikey until your old and grain
Well,
starts to decay.
and I love like the young business owner who starts from the very beginning. And I think it is a different
Yeah.
mindset who starts from the very beginning saying, I want to build something that doesn't just work for me, but something that works at scale, that works where I can hire a bunch of people to come do this work with me. And even if you start the business from day one that way, you're gonna accelerate towards higher levels of success, I think.
Yeah, yeah, spot on. And once we make the mindset shift, and once we start documenting how we do certain things, we then can become Mikey systems. You
Mhm.
transition from owning a job to owning a business. And the reason why this is important, everybody, is because if we want to build a business that is exitable, doesn't mean we have to exit, doesn't mean we have to sell, but if we build a business that has high enterprise value, frankly, it just means you have a good business.
Yep.
And the only way that you're going to have high enterprise value is if you don't own a job. Private equity does not want to buy a job. They want to buy a cash printing asset that they can tack on to their portfolio. So this is a guy, Mikey Systems. He owns this business. He's able to take his family to the Bahamas for 2 weeks out of the year in the summer, and the business runs without him. A little bit about me is I own a lawn care company here in just north of Austin, Texas, and we'll do probably around 2 million in revenue this year. And I'm on this call with you because I have systems in the business and because I have rock star talent that executes on those systems. Failure to document the systems and to delegate tasks would not allow me to help impact lawn care companies at this extent that I'm so graciously have the honor to do so. I spend maybe 30 minutes a week in the business. And I say that not to pat my own back. I say that just to let you know that it is possible to do that. And systems is that avenue allowing you to do that.
Yeah, and you got to get like so committed to it. Like you really have to say, okay, and this is talking to that group that was like the A students here. Like you have to kind of say in your mind, I'm no longer treating lawns or mowing lawns or whatever your thing is. From this point forward, my job is to build a business. I'm a business builder who happens to do lawn care, not a lawn care guy that has to do the business stuff. And you kind of
Yeah.
got to flip the system to like, because these things don't happen by accident. It only happens when you become very disciplined and committed to building systems. When
Yeah.
you start spending disciplined, consistent time working on the business, not just in the business, where that's the only way you get kind of permission to become someone who owns something that is really sellable and valuable. And you said it well, but just to add on, it's like you want to build a business that's so valuable that you can sell it, but so valuable that you'd be crazy to, so easy to run
Yeah.
that you'd be crazy to sell it.
Yeah. Yeah. Very well put. This now probes the question of how about you guys? Do you own a business or do you own a job?
Hmm.
The best way to answer this is if you were to get sick tomorrow and you couldn't work for 2 weeks, would your business keep on running? And if the answer is
Mm.
no, or even like maybe,
Yeah.
you have a systems problem. And
Or even if there was one little element in the business, maybe it's my marketing would fall apart or my sales would fall apart. That's
mhm,
still a problem, I guess.
yeah, still a problem. And my whole intent here, Dan, and everybody is I aim to fix that today. I've been at conferences in the past where they're like, you want to know what is the most important thing to do in your business? It is to build systems. All right, drive safe, get home safe.
Yeah.
It's just like, well, how do I do that? And I aim to answer that question today. Another way I think through this, Dan, is you can run a business without systems to a certain extent, but that business will never grow. I think a business that has great systems
Yeah.
allows the business to grow without any involvement by the
Yeah.
owner.
Because sometimes you have a key player who's like, I knows all the things, right?
Yes. Yeah.
And but if that key player, in the same vein, if that key player gets sick, if that key player doesn't show up every day, like is there replaceable? I had this happen to a company I was coaching. They had two best friends who were hired, and one was ops and one was sales. And they were running it. They were over $1 million in revenue. It was awesome. And then best friend B decided to move to California. They were from Boston. Well, guess what? They were screwed because they did not have great systems in place.
Yeah.
And that's like something I would not want to depend on an individual, whether it's me or anyone else, to be the bottleneck in the business.
Yeah. Yeah. And some common symptoms that you own a job and not a business is one, you are the primary bottleneck.
Mm,
Two, the same mistakes keep on happening if you are not the one doing the thing. Employees are asking you the same questions over and over again. And when we press the growth gas pedal, it just creates way more chaos instead of freedom and profit. And so if any of those relate with you, give me a little
yeah.
thumbs up in the chat. I want to see,
Yeah.
do you own a job? If you own a job, give me a thumbs up and we'll actually take that as a thumbs down.
Yeah. I was going to say, I don't know that there's a thumbs down button,
Yeah.
but you can raise your hand. Maybe we'll just have people raise their hands
There we go.
and that will give us an idea.
Okay. Yeah, we got a few people. Awesome. So this probes the question of what is a system? A few years ago in my business, I would hear the word system and it was always a Google search, I guess before ChatGPT was a thing, and a YouTube search, and I never really like got an answer. And so the way I define a system, it is a series of steps that, if followed, will allow the same desired outcome to be achieved regardless of who is doing them. And I think that last portion of that definition is the most important part. It's regardless of who is doing them. We get the same exact desired outcome if the steps are followed in order. So that doesn't matter if it's your absolute best employee or if it's someone's first day. If we can hand off a system to them, the desired outcome gets achieved. That is where you generate real freedom as a business owner.
Freedom and scalability, because
Yeah.
now I can bring someone on. I say, go do these things, follow these steps. We may have to train you a little bit, but if you follow these steps, all of a sudden now I can replicate that work over and over and over again.
Yeah. Yeah. And
I,
so
I had one
go
person,
ahead.
Sam, sorry to interrupt, but I
You're
had one
good.
person that said this. I thought it was so profound. They said, time is not a scarce resource.
Hmm.
And I was like, wait, what? And they're like, you can go buy more of it. So
True.
I can go buy more time in the form of people, but only if a system allows me to hand off structured work that they can then execute within the system.
Yeah. Very true.
Hmm.
Now, a company, when I think through a company that nails systems, it's not something I necessarily consume anymore, but a company that nails systems is McDonald's.
Hmm.
I don't, if you're a business owner and you haven't seen the movie Founder, I think you're missing out. It's like it's actually like a fun movie to watch, but from a business standpoint, it's just so much gold is in this movie that is kind of meant for entertainment. If you don't know, Ray Kroc kind of came in and like sideswiped the McDonald's brothers, but he found an opportunity. And when we think of McDonald's, we think of hamburgers, but Ray Kroc didn't sell the hamburgers. He just sold a system that made a bunch of hamburgers in a bunch of locations. And if we look back at the definition of what a system is, it's a series of steps that, if followed, produces the same desired outcome regardless of who is doing them. I had the opportunity to travel the world with the Army, and I can tell you that a Big Mac in Seoul, South Korea is the same exact Big Mac in Austin, Texas. And that just kind of like blows my mind that the same exact desired outcome is achieved regardless of who is doing them and regardless of which language is being spoken. It's just like blows my mind. And it's not because of world-class chefs. It's just because of precise systems that is easy to follow. And this is
And,
truly a
and
definite, go ahead.
yeah, and I was going to say the thing that blows my mind about McDonald's is that I don't know how much McDonald's makes in a year, but it's probably in the millions and
Right.
millions. Uh, and it's run by teenagers and ex-cons, right? It's like not sophisticated people that are showing up running, not to disparage those who are working at McDonald's, but it's like it's not a super high priced, high paid position, right?
Oh,
It's somebody who is but they're doing millions and millions of dollars because the systems have come down to the level of such simplicity that really anyone can do it, and therefore they can hire anyone to do it, and they can produce really these consistent results. Whether or not they're good results is debatable, but consistent results throughout the world.
yeah, it's amazing. And we're not necessarily asking you to become McDonald's level certified system builder. I do just want to paint the picture though, is what would it mean for your business if every single job was done to standard every single time, regardless of which employee is on the mower, the sprayer, or fill in the variable here? It would mean freedom and scalability. And one thing that also just like I kind of been nerding out on McDonald's systems. They can take a 16-year-old kid and make that kid profitable in one afternoon because of systems.
Oof.
Like the value of that is mind-boggling. So here's how we do it. And I would like to imagine that here's how McDonald's does it, but they probably don't. Here's how I do systems in my business is I call it the systems blueprint. And there are two core components. You have the system itself, which is made up of which is made up of a process and procedures. And then you have a master systems document. This is the place where every single system is stored within your business. Now, if we zoom in to what is inside of a system, like I said, there's a process and procedures. The process is a map of steps from start to finish. The process answers the question of what needs to happen and in what order does it need to happen in. Now, if we get to a specific step within a process and it probes the question of how do I actually do that, a one-page procedure is built out to answer that question. And so I like to think of this like a recipe book to make it more tangible before we move on. The process is the recipe itself. Like, how do we make a steak? The process is the recipe on how to make a steak. Now, if we get to a step within that process of caramelize the onions, that might probe the question to somebody following this process of, well, how do I caramelize the onions? We would then build a procedure to answer that specific question within that process. Is there anything that you would like to add to that, Dan?
No, I really love it. And as we dig into this thing, one of the things that I'm just going to encourage anyone listening, you need to practice this to get good at it.
Hmm.
And I'm reminded of like when we were playing football, I believe in football in Texas, but when we were playing football in the backyard, like literally we were like mini systems builders because you're a mini offensive coordinator, right? And I would look like in the dirt, you would draw out, all right, wide receiver on the left, you're going to run a post pattern, wide receiver on the right, you're going to run a little hook. And then basically I'm just going to throw it to whoever's open, right? Is like the way that that level of football happens. But my point is that this happens visually. Like you're pulling out a notebook and you're just practicing what happens first and second. We'll talk more about that. But for some of you, you did more to design and create systems as a elementary school kid in the backyard playing football than you do for your business that you want to become $1 million plus business. And so like I'm just going to like remind you that it is the process of pen and paper writing and drawing this thing.
Yeah, yeah, good call out. To explain the process, it's essentially just, as the screen states, it's a visual illustration of the steps required to achieve the desired outcome. But what I want you to notice, I want you to notice what it is and also what it isn't. This is not a novel. It's not a super expansive training manual. It's simply just a visual map that shows you the entire process at a glance. One of the reasons that I've actually like been nerding out on simplifying systems building is I had the privilege of serving in the Army for 6 years, and there's literally a 12-page document on how to walk in the Army, and I've yet to read that
Huh.
entire 12-page document on how to walk. I just went off of what my sergeant told me. I would refuse to read it. And so then that's really just tribal knowledge. I'm sure my sergeant has missed a few things in that manual, and I wasn't truly following the manual to completion. If we simplify this and we can use checklists and visual workflows, it drastically reduces the tribal knowledge that might take place in the
Yeah.
business. Yep. And so when we're looking through this visual process, every box is a step, and the arrows will show you what's next. And then if we get to a yellow box, that basically is just there's a branch that comes off of it, typically with a yes or a no. So when someone joins your team and is new and they're in a seat where they need to execute off of a lot of systems, this is the single best way to download your brain into theirs. And so this is the power of a
Yep.
documented process.
I love it. And honestly, like I didn't plan on this, so I don't know if this is gonna work, but if like to my right of my desk here, I have a whiteboard and literally you can see me designing a system just on a whiteboard, right? I don't know if I can zoom in
Hmm.
at all, but effectively that's what we're doing. And you use a different tool. I think what tool do you use to design these guys?
Whimsical.
Whimsical. So
Mhm.
Whimsical is either free or low cost to go
Yeah.
do it on the computer screen. But at very least, like pad of paper, whiteboard, or whatever, we're actually drawing arrows and kind of moving through the process. We'll model this later, but I just wanted
Yep.
to point out is like happens lots of different ways. But the key is that we do it, that we actually put pen to paper and we visually describe it. Because until we've done this, until we've drawn it out, first of all, just in the process of drawing it out, you're going to find all these gaps, all these holes where you're like, oh, what do we do if we send out an invoice and they don't reply? And
Hmm.
right now, the answer is nothing really. And it's like, oh, that's a hole in our system. What
Yeah.
do we do if we show up to the home and the back gate is locked? Well, right now, I text my guy, and if he's there, I get a hold of, like, there's not a process, there's not a system for that procedure. And
Hmm.
so until, like, when we map it, one, we're going to find all these holes, and two, once we've mapped it, we then can edit it and improve it. But honestly, it's really hard to edit and improve ideas that are just kind of floating around in our brains. It
Yeah.
requires that they come down on paper and make it happen. And then the last kind of principle here that I'd tag on is you reference the importance of some simplicity. Like, by the way, when you're working in the elementary school playground, it's got to be super simple. It's like run a hook, do this little corner thing. Now, when you get to the NFL, if you've ever heard their playbooks, they get pretty complex, right? Because they have more sophisticated talent and the standard and competitiveness goes up.
Yep.
And they would like to make it as simple as possible, but the demand of the work requires some level of complexity, right? That's where they're like V button hook, right, X zebra, right? They like call out this long play because it's got so much detail in it. And
Yeah.
so whatever level of that your work a person you're working with, the talent you're working with, what their level of education and sophistication, you need to match that level with the level of simplicity of the system. And so
Yeah.
don't build out NFL systems for elementary school players because they won't get it. It'll be too confusing. They won't follow it. And it basically we're back to square one.
Yeah. And I would also even encourage like keep it simple, even if you're dealing with $100 million CEO. Like leave enough
Mhm.
room for them to go be themselves as well. But as long as we're getting to the desired outcome,
Yeah, good
that's
point.
really what we care about.
As simple as possible to get to the desired outcome is probably the goal.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yep, correct. So now that we know what a process is, I'm curious on what makes a good process. So before we map out any steps, and you'll see us do this in a second, you have to know what done looks like. And then you're going to have a very clear start and end. Without that, the process just kind of sprawls and the people don't know when they're done. They're just kind of like, am I at the desired
Hmm.
outcome yet? No. Well, there's no more steps. So it just kind of sprawls. Each step is a very distinct action. We want to avoid any vagueness when we're talking about these steps. And could someone follow this process on their first day without calling you and achieve the desired outcome? That would make a really good process. Now we know what process is. Let's talk about what the procedure is. A procedure is a step in the process uh, that if there's a step in the process that probes the question of how do I do this, the procedure aims to solve that question. It's a how-to for that specific step. Now, what you'll notice when you're building out this process is not every step is going to require a procedure. Like, I don't recommend you getting super granular on how to start a truck. It's not like sit down. If,
Yeah.
but if that was one of the steps, you don't need a procedure to teach someone how to sit down.
That's the 12-page walking version of
Yes.
this, right? 12 pages on how to walk, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that sounds goofy and silly and over dramatic, but think of this when you're even talking about how to navigate your CRM. Like we don't need to teach somebody to click the blue button in the top left corner. It's like that's trained. Like if somebody can't figure that out, maybe there's
Yeah.
something else going on there.
Yeah, we
Uh,
want to like split the gap between simplicity, simple enough that it's easy to follow and reference, but thorough enough that we're not skipping over anything important. And so there is, I don't know that maybe you can answer this for me, but most procedures need a little training. It's not like I'm
mhm.
picking up the procedure and immediately everything's going to come intuitive. But the
Yes.
procedure should be a good enough checklist that if you showed me once, I can then reference it and kind of know that I'm following, hitting all the marks.
Spot on. Spot on. And when you build this out, my recommendation before just handing out a fully built out system is the very next time you find yourself having to do this thing, do not use your own brain. Literally go step by step by step by step in the process and procedures and see if you get to that desired outcome. If you
Yeah.
don't, tweak it. If you do, now it's delegatable.
Yeah, that's a good point. Like test your own system. Because
Test your own
oftentimes
system.
what we think is a good system in our heads, when it actually lives on paper, when it actually lives in real life, it's not a very good system, or it's impractical,
Yes.
or it takes too many steps, right? Like it's like the people who design sidewalks where it's like you should have designed the sidewalks where the path is on the grass, where people are cutting that corner because it's not very effective or easy. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, let it live out and edit, and we'll talk about how we edit and update as we proceed through the process.
Yeah, I think Hermosi says a thing. It's the three Ds. You got to document it, you have to duplicate it, then you have to delegate it. And so what that basically means is we're documenting the system. We have to duplicate the desired outcome following the system. And then once that happens, we can then delegate it. So just think through the
And
three
I
Ds
would
there.
add a D would be like, and then do all of that again, because
Yeah.
odds are you're going to have to update that system over and over again.
Yeah. Spot on. So now this is the one page procedure. I only have one major boundary that I want you to follow. And it's basically just in the title. Don't make it more than one page. Don't be an army and have 12 pages on how to step with your left foot first. What you see on this one page procedure, every single title here is important. The system name, have to have it. The date created and last updated, we need it there. And you'll see why in a second. The desired outcome, similar to the system itself, this procedure needs to have a desired outcome because if somebody follows the execution checklist, they need to know what right looks like. The execution checklist is now a no more than 10 steps to accomplish this procedure. I would like for all of these to be an action verb to start off with, and it just explains how to do this procedure step by step. We need to assign an owner to this procedure, and then we want to link back to the visual process because I don't want there to be any I don't want there to be any leaks. I want somebody to very quickly be able to find that process and continue going through that system. And as we do this, well, I mean, I'll show you in a second. I'll build out literally a process and I'll attach a procedure and all the fun things. But once everything is done, we then need to figure out how to store it. So this is the second component in the systems blueprint. It's the master systems document. This is the home for everything. Arguably, I would say this is the most important component of it. That's probably equally important. But if you have a beautiful, well-built
Mm.
system that is just stored in Google Drive, it does not exist. It just doesn't exist. We need to have a single source of truth for all of our systems and processes and procedures in our business. One thing to know is this document is never done. Even if you've built out every single system in your business, it's never done. The reason for that is because there's going to be review frequencies. We should not be, 5 years from now, we should not be operating off of the same systems we build today. Our businesses evolve and we need to evolve with it. Each system is going to be assigned an owner and a review frequency, like I mentioned. And so on a monthly basis for us at Troops Mowing, each owner goes in and review and sees which systems are assigned to them. And if that system needs to be reviewed this month, they go ahead, open it up, and they say, is this still how we do the thing? If it is, they update the date, move on to the next system. And now on a monthly basis, all of our systems are maintained and updated to exactly how we still operate in our business. Now, this is what the master systems document looks like. And if you stick with me till the end of this call, there's going to be an opportunity for you to schedule a meeting with me to get all these resources right into your Google Drive as well. When I think of the master systems document, keeping it military branded, this is our command center. What it does, as you can see on the screen, is it centralizes all of our systems. It prevents duplication, which is more important than you might think it is. Because if you build a system on how to onboard a new employee, and then a year from now you're like, you want to know what I need to be better at in my business is systems? I should probably create a system on how to onboard a new employee. And now you have like 5 different systems on how to onboard a new employee. None of them are the exact same. You bring in an office manager, they don't know which one to, it's a mess. This helps you track ownership and it forces accountability. Because if I am the ops manager and I'm keeping all my systems up to date, but I see the office manager slacking, everything's in one screen. Like we can see who's keeping their systems up to date or not.
Yeah,
One of the
and let me just like harken back to this. To me, one of the challenges to me as a business owner is keeping it all straight in my mind. There are just so many pieces to a business that to me, this is why, right, we talked in previous webinars about the idea of six core business systems, where it's like, hey, we have six pieces of this puzzle. And if I can keep track of all six of those pieces of the puzzle, then I can kind of like double check everything to make sure that we're not missing any key components in the business. But to me, I find this wonderful confidence that comes into my heart as a business owner to have a list of systems, and it's a finite list. I don't know, Sam, how many do you have on your list in total?
We have way more procedures than we do processes, but
It's like 40.
yeah,
It's
not a
like a
lot.
finite list, right? And that's to run a multi-million dollar business. I have 40 things that we got to learn to do and we got to document and execute. That to me is like, oh, well, we can go do that, right? I can go build 40 systems
Yeah.
and the procedures that support those systems. And it's like that to me is accomplishable. And so for whatever reason, when I first saw this master system document, I was like, duh, like let's just see it all at once. And it allows me to feel very clear as a CEO, as an owner.
Yes. And I alluded to this on the last slide, but one of the more important things about this whole thing, the magic sauce is the review cadence.
Mm,
If you don't come and update your systems on a frequent um, rhythm, you're just going to be operating off of old, outdated systems, and everything's just going to revert back to tribal knowledge at that point. Because you're going to have systems drift, right? Someone is going to find a shortcut. That shortcut gets taught to the next person that comes into the org chart, and then
yep.
nobody's actually following the original system. There's going to be a lot of workarounds. There's going to be temporary fixes that then becomes permanent process, and then the results are not
Yeah.
consistent at
I
that
think one
point.
of the risks of heading into this work of creating systems is that we then go build the ideal world. It's like we architect the multi-billion dollar house we want, but we really only have a $10,000 budget of time and effort. And so we got to design a system that fits what we can actually follow through and execute. And so you got to be a little careful to allow yourself to build the $1 million home on a $10,000 budget because, yeah, you can go build this great system where you do a 30-day call to new clients and a 90-day call to new clients, and you reach out and you hand deliver a basket of goodies to the new client. And it's like, when? Like, how do we get all of that done with our current constraints as far as time, money, and resources? And so, just keep in mind, we want this to reflect what we really expect to happen in the business, not what we hope will happen in the business.
Yeah.
So, anything you put in here, you have to hold yourself accountable for and live in integrity to. And then, if it's not the way we actually are doing it, we need to adjust the system to what we actually do. Okay.
Yeah. Very
So
good.
this is not aspirational. This is not who we want to be. This is who we are today and
Yeah.
who we can legitimately um, be and what we can legitimately follow through on.
Yeah. Spot on. And if you build a system and you're like, hey, I'm growing really fast and I will probably change, the system will change in a month. Well, that's a beautiful thing about the review cadence is just set that review cadence to monthly because the system will change in a
Mhm.
month. Remind yourself to see if this is still the way we do it.
Yeah.
But if this is a way that my grandpa's grandpa did it, I can probably just set that review cadence to annually and forget about it. So what we're going to kind of get into is we are going to get into the live system build out example. I'm sure everybody's
Ooh.
was like, Sam, shut up, show me how to
Yeah.
do the thing.
Yeah.
But before we start, I want to tell you the tools that I use at Troops to help me do this. I use a visual flowchart tool. I use Whimsical. Dan is a lucid chart kind of guy, which is like Whimsical is iOS, Lucid Charts Windows 95. So we got to get Dan up to speed here. But you can just pick your poison as long as we can do this. If you're like, hey, I hate computers, you could literally do this on with post-it notes on a on a table and take a picture after the fact. It
Yep.
could just be that easy. Then you're gonna need Google Drive. Everybody here most likely has that. I use Sheets and Docs. So as I pull up this screen, Dan, do you kind of want to give us some color commentary on it to bridge this
Yeah.
gap for me?
So again, the spirit of this, if I'm sitting in your seat, what I'm going to do is I'm going to be like, okay, I'm going to make a list of systems that I feel like I need to either need improvement or just honestly, these are our core systems that we need to go execute, right? Like, so the most fundamental system is like, how do I answer the phone and sell a new client, for example? It's like a fundamental system in any business. How do I, when I get to a property, how do I mow, blow, and go? Like, what's my system for that? So there are going to be some core systems. I'd start there. And then two, then but it's also worthwhile to say, let me make a list of my master. I can make the list of all the systems that need to be designed, and then I prioritize based on most important to least important, and then I start working through system by system.
Yeah. Great. So this is Whimsical, and when you can create a free account with Whimsical, I like to have a template of a system so I can just duplicate the board and I will see this every single time I pull it up. So we have our start and our stop. I have my white box for my steps. I have my yellow box for anything that probes a yes or no question that I can branch off of. Now, the system that we're going to build together is how to handle customer cancellations in a business. And some transparency, one thing we're trying to solve at Troops Mowing is our churn or our attrition. We're trying to retain more clients, and we didn't have a great customer cancellation policy. Mrs. Jones, you want to cancel? Good for you. See you never. Like we, that's not the right way to do it. We want to like bake in a better way to handle that. And at worst, we want to get a 5-star review out of it if we can. If they're going to cancel, we still want something out of it. So what we need to do is when I come in here, I first need to add a title. So this is how to handle customer cancellations. And that's pretty big, so you can leave it. Now the desired outcome for this is we want this to be one sentence and very clearly communicate to the end user here what we're trying to accomplish. So for this, I want every cancellation request is met with an attempt to save the client. If not, they are off-boarded cleanly, leaving them with a positive final impression and is tagged for future re-engagement. So this is my desired outcome for this system. As you get a leadership team that is great at building systems, and they already know the tools and resources available to them, as the visionary or as the executive, you can go to this person in this office, you can go to your office manager and say, hey, I would like a system to do this. Here's my desired outcome. You just give them the title and the
Mm.
desired outcome, and they will build the system for you. That's what like version 3.0 looks like. So now we have to ask ourselves, what triggers this system? When I think through this, it's simply just a cancellation request is received. One thing that you guys are going to see me do is I'm going to be basically be asking myself is, well, what next? Until I get to the end. Is literally just, well, what
Mhm.
happens next? I build out the entire process before I go back and visually check each step and ask the question of, would that probe the question of how do I do that? So I build the procedures at the end. I first focus on the process. So the first step after somebody requests to be canceled, I want to try to retain that client. Well, what next? Was the client retained? If yes, I'd imagine, and then this is me just working through this process live with you guys. If the client was retained, I would imagine maybe we offered a discount, maybe we did a downsell, maybe we did a pause. Like there's got to be, or nothing, but there might be some applicable changes that we need to make within the CRM. So if they were retained, make any applicable changes in CRM and keep active. I like to draw my arrows as I go. This is the yes branch. If no, I would guess I'd say, is there a past due invoice? Do they owe us money? This probes a question of yes or no, change the color. If they do owe us money, get that money.
Send the goons.
Yeah. Send Dan, Dirty Dan and the boys. If they don't owe us money, we can cancel active services within the CRM. Now, as you're building these out, you're going to find like already right there, I know that probes the question of how do I do that? So like I already know I'm going to have to go back and build a procedure for that. After we cancel active services within the CRM, I would then want to, for us, we send a cancellation form. That cancellation form is essentially an internal feedback form for us. And if they rate us 4 stars or higher, we then automatically redirect them to our Google review page. So that is one of the steps within this process. So I do want to make sure we add that.
So Sam, walk me through, like you're doing this just so naturally. Walk me
Hmm.
through how you're deciding where to chunk out an amount of work. Is it so? For example, you put try to retain client. I might have been like, uh, answer the phone,
Mm,
like put the client, like have the client conversation. Like we could have listed a bunch of steps within that. How
yeah.
did you decide that it's like this is the box as
Yeah,
far
great
as the amount
question.
of time?
Great question. So if we're restarting this and I were to say answer the phone, I would want to ask myself, well, what am I actually trying to do when I answer the phone?
Mm,
So like the answer the phone is if the phone's ringing, you're going to answer it. I don't need to tell you to answer the phone.
yeah, got it.
But when I answer the phone, what am I trying to do? I'm trying to retain the client. And I can then go, like if I build out the procedure
Yeah, and
for
then naturally you're going to say, well, how do we do that, right?
how
Yeah,
would I do that? I would have to answer the phone.
yeah,
And I'll great point. I'll actually build out a procedure for the specific step to answer that question.
yeah.
But after we send the cancellation form for us, we want to know, did we leave on good terms? Again, this is a yes or no.
I noticed
If,
that all of your boxes start with a verb.
yeah, I guess I never,
Cancel, send, make, receive. It's like
yeah,
a good rule of thumb, right? Which is, and then you're right, you have your questions, and then you have verbs, which are actions, right? And that's why, because it's like cancel, send,
yeah.
right? Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, it's an action step. Yeah, it's a great call out. If we did leave on good terms, what we want to do, guys, is we want to add a retarget tag to their profile, and that will help trigger an automation to put them in like a re-nurture campaign. So like what I could do is we don't do this, but if you could add like a little lightning bolt icon to this step that shows that that triggers an automation if you actually wanted to get
Hmm.
that granular with it.
This is something else that I've been dying to say here. A lot of systems are automatable, which
Hmm.
is where you can leverage your CRM magic. You can leverage a lot of great tools. And as AI progresses, AI will do this even better. But first, we have to design what we want the automation to do. And that's where, structures and like the systems like this can live in software systems like a Service Autopilot or a Homeworks or whatever it happens to be, where all of a sudden we can have these things being triggered automatically and it becomes a list of tasks, etc. So
Yeah.
yeah, I love
Yeah,
that.
very good. So for us, after we add that tag, that's the end of the automation. But did we leave on good terms? If no, that's just also the end of the automation. And I have to come back here. There's two
Mhm.
steps that don't lead to end. So I have to say, after we make the applicable changes in the CRM and keep active, there's nothing
Yeah.
else to do here. That ends the automation. If we receive the final payment, we don't end it. We just go to the very next step in the process. So now this is a closed loop at this point. There's no loose ends. Everything
Mm.
leads to the desired outcome. Now everything is built. I have to go back through and I have to ask myself, do any of these steps probe the question of how do I do that? So let's start from the beginning. Cancellation request is received. Try to retain the client. Yep. Someone's gonna ask me, how do I retain a client, Sam? And I'm gonna take the 10 minutes to build up the procedure so I never have to answer that question again. I'm buying back my time by
Yeah.
simply answering this question. Now, when you schedule a call with me, you're gonna get these resources. And so don't think like, well, Sam is just pulling random documents out of thin air. Thanks a lot for nothing. Talk to me. You will literally get these exact documents for yourself. So for us, we're trying to simply say how to retain a client. Date created is today, which is the 17th. Now the desired outcome. Every cancellation. Actually, you know what? To save you guys time,
Yeah, copy and paste.
I
You
already
already
typed
did
this
it.
one up for our business. Every cancellation request receives a same day phone call, retention attempt that addresses the real reason for leaving using a downsell pause or adjusted offer so that no client cancels without us genuinely trying to keep them. Didn't paste that one over. Now, how do we do this? What I
I love
will
the
do is
desired outcome, by the way, because it does give permission to people who are following this process to make it better. It's like, hey, the goal here is for us to give them a great experience and ideally retain them. And so if they understand the desired outcome, it kind of just seeds better decision making in the process itself, in the procedure itself, but also improves the right opportunity for them to make it better.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And what I'll do is I'll just drag this screenshot over for you guys to save some time. This is what this procedure would look like. And so we would review our client profile, checking for any service history, tenure, basically just getting historical context and have some sort of leverage or footing
Mhm.
for that phone call.
And the
We then
desired
want to,
outcomes for this procedure,
for
not
this
for the overall
specific procedure,
process for this procedure.
correct. And so this is you guys can read all this. This is how we would go through retaining a client. And like, for example, refer to the attached phone script. So what I would do here is I would just highlight that phone script and I would link it directly to our phone script. So this is our initial phones. Like this allows you to not be the one on the phones either, right? Your office manager, you're telling them roughly what to say. And at least the first few times they call, they're going to follow this. I don't care if they follow this word for word, but like I'm just giving them, kind of teaching them without having to be there and what to say. If it's price, say this. If it's service, say this. If they need to pause, say that. And if they're still going to cancel, say that. Little extra notes if we need them. And on warmth, this is the last impression you will leave. Make it count. So we're just teaching people how to make that phone script, that call. Now we want to assign an owner, and then we also want to make sure that we're linking this system back in here. So in whatever visual workflow you guys are using, we want to come in here. We want to make sure that anyone with this link can view, and then I want to copy that link. So in here, I'm just going to add that link, and now everything's good. Now let's imagine that this actually looked like this, but you guys kind of get the gist. Now that this one page procedure is built out, I would want to change the title. I want to copy this link, and then back in my process, I'm going to add a comment. So now anybody that ever is coming through here, they know there's something assigned to here. They can click in here and open up the procedure and how to do that specific step. And if they're in here and they want to get back to the workflow, they would just click that button and go right back to the workflow.
Mm.
So on and so forth. So you would keep going through here, cancel active services within CRM. How do I do that? You would build that out. But for the sake of the time, I would just wanted to show you how to build out one procedure. You would then know how to do that for all of your procedures for your business. Now that's the first component of the systems blueprint is building the system itself. Now the final component is to store it in the master systems document. So we are already on the process. Let me go ahead and while I'm here, I want to copy this link. Now in the master systems document, it will look like this when you get it from me when you schedule the call. You have a procedure document and a process document. Well, I just copied the process links. What I want to do here is this is how to handle customer cancellations. We're going to add the link. The process owner, this would probably be an office manager. The last review date was today. And I have to ask myself, is this going to change on a monthly basis or is this just the way we do it forever? If I'm pretty confident, but not super confident, I'll put quarterly. You can just kind
Yeah.
of go with what you
Anything
see
new, I'm
fit.
probably putting monthly, honestly,
That was the
just because
very
I
next
want
thing.
to
Yep.
take a look at it and say, hey, how did it go this month? Is this working or not working?
Yep.
And then once we feel a little confident, we can put it quarterly. And like you said, if it's just in stone, we can put it as an annual.
Yep. Exactly what I told our office manager, Michaela, this week, where I was like, if you build a new system, put it monthly. If it's still good in a month, change it to quarterly. If it's still good in a quarter, change it to annually. Like that's just
Yeah.
kind of the thing we'll flow
Yeah, I
with.
like that.
Now we built out this process. And so I would want to make sure I come in here and update the master systems document to reflect the procedure title. So this is how to retain a client. I'm going to link it. I also want to link my visual workflow to this as well, basically showing what process is that procedure assigned to. Office manager, same thing as we said before. Here's where it is cool. You'd create a filter in this, and on a monthly basis, our office manager would come in here and they would open up the systems assigned to her. They would then figure out, let me find all the monthlies or quarterlies. I'm going to refer that to when was the last time it was reviewed? Do I need to review it this month? If so, I'm going to go in and review it. That is the entire process for the master systems document. Dan, do you have anything you want to add to that?
Just it's just so like in some ways it's like duh, everyone should have been doing this, and yet no one was doing this until I met Sam. And so it's such a brilliantly simple way to organize. There's not any like it's basically free with the Google Drive and Google Docs and like it anyone can do it. And but at the end of the day, when you look at Sam's business, he in a glance can know exactly how this works. And he could hand that to a general manager, he could hand that to anybody really and say this is how it's operated. This is what makes McDonald's special. There's some greasy notebook that shows every little thing and how to do it. And that's why a pimple-faced 14-year-old can run a $3 million McDonald's branch.
Yeah.
It's just so simple and genius, but it requires effort and time to put together.
Yeah. Great. I'm going to pull back up this presentation for everybody as we kind of wrap up here. Okay.
Like I just dare anyone to not to do this and not have a better business. It's just
Yeah.
impossible.
Yeah. That's a great call out. So, in closing, everybody, I just want to thank you. We still have about 30 people on, and I want to thank you for still being here. I want to reiterate that systems, you might feel like you're confining your employees to a specific way of doing things, which kind of sounds the opposite of freedom. But in all reality, it creates freedom for you in the business. Um, and I'll just kind of read off the slide here. The goal is not perfection. It's to create a business that runs well on your worst day. Another selling point for automations is I want to create automation so that if I'm off today, the business is still on. And that's one thing that systems and automations does for businesses. And then if your business collapses when you step away and you have zero enterprise value, or if it collapses when you walk away, that means you have zero enterprise value. Systems will help you solve that. As we wrap up, I want you guys to know that there's people like me, there's Miranda, there's plenty of us here at Lawn Care CEO that are willing and eager and able to help. And you might not know exactly where to start. You hear a presentation like this and it's like, finally, someone teaches me how to do the thing, but I still have no clue where to start. And that's where I want to step in and help you guys out. So please feel free to scan this QR code, visit that URL, lawncareceo.com/free call, and schedule a call with me. I have some availability on my schedule, and I want to sit down with you for a little bit of time and really uncover what's next for you and for your business. There's going to be some of the people that are watching this that could benefit from even me joining your leadership team and really making an impact long term for your business. And there might just be some people that's like, hey, I just want to know what's my next 90 days look like. And I'm here to do that for you as well. Dan, do you have anything?
Man, like again, like for those of you who've known us for a little while, like you get that what we're about is we're trying to help people. We call it help the do-gooders do gooder. We want to help good people figure this out, have discretionary time and money, and systems is right at the center of building a business that allows you to have discretionary time and money, that allows you to grow and scale. And so I think everyone should like get on, sign up for a time with Sam and say, all right, Sam, you're going to get, because on this call, you're going to share the master systems template the procedure template, all that stuff that we've kind of shared. We just kind of hold that back a little bit just to make sure that if we are going to give it to you, that you know how to use it, you're not breaking anything. Have a little bit of training around that. But more than anything, we want to make sure that you're in a place where you are getting the help that you need. There's a myth in lawn care and just in entrepreneurship in general that this is a lone wolf. The lone wolf wins. It's just not true. Like the guys who win, and it's been funny because when I meet successful business owners, a lot of them I go, "You're successful." Like I kind of judgy, like go, "Wait, you made it, and why did you make it?" And not somebody who I felt was maybe more talented on the surface. And the reality is the reason that they made it is because they just asked for a lot of help. They were just shameless in asking for help. And they just ask and ask and ask and ask and ask. And so like this is one of those opportunities, like it doesn't cost you anything. We don't have any voodoo magic to make you sign up for anything. We just want to like see if we can help.
Yeah.
And so definitely worth the time to like sign up and grab some time with Sam and say, all right, what system should I work on first is really the question we're going to be able to answer
Yeah.
for you.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well,
Sam, I had
thank
one
you.
question I was
Yeah,
hoping that
please.
we could answer on the fly here.
Please.
This is Ryan. Like, do you see a value as far in going as far as doing screen recordings and putting them in the procedure document, or is that kind of overkill?
I think if you are strapped on time, which probably a lot of people watching this might be, I think screen recordings could very well be the thing um, that could take place of the procedure. And I've recently changed my stance on this. There's a company or software called Loom, Loom.com, and it allows you to record your screen. So you can go through the exact process on how to do this thing. And what's cool is they've recently released a new feature where you can generate an SOP off of the screen recording. And so you could just simply copy and paste that SOP into a Google Doc, then paste the screen recording URL in there, and then also paste the process URL in there as well. I think that that's a great place to start, certainly. Only thing is it's longer than one page, so it breaks my golden rule, but I'll let it slide for the month of March.
Well, and what I would say is it shouldn't replace the checklist that
Right.
you've created, that less than 10 step checklist, but isn't bad supplementary material. Because we said at the beginning that most procedures are going to need to be trained. One way to train it is by having a video that walks you through it one time. But
Yeah.
then once I've been walked through it one time, I can have this checklist off to the side that go like, all right, I can remember, make sure to do all the steps.
Yeah.
So that's to me how those two work together. It's just a form of training, whether I'm sitting next to you and training you, or a video of me is sitting there training you. Either way works, but it's a training, not a procedure. So we still need the
Yeah.
procedure, even though the training might help us understand the procedure.
The only downfall to all that, though, is if one of the steps within the procedure changes, it's easy to go into the procedure and cancel out a few words and type a few words in there. But if
Yes.
one step within the procedure changes, you have to redo the entire screen recording.
Yep.
So that's the only downside to that.
Yep. It's a little harder to maintain. And so as long as you have the staff and are willing to like whatever the rhythm is, every time we update it, it's like, okay, and I have to record a new video showing exactly how it's done.
Yep.
I think it's great. Like go for it.
Yep. Absolutely.
Maybe only record those that are annual reviews and
Yeah.
not the
That's
monthly ones right away.
yeah. That might be
Awesome.
that might be good.
Um, Anthony Harris is asking, what AI software can I upload SOPs to that employees can get quick answers to questions?
A lot of the SOPs that I'm creating is going to be for like anybody that's north of crew leader on my org chart. Now, the crew leaders, I'll just put like a binder in the truck with just simple checklists. Like, here's our load and unload checklist. Um, you can keep that pretty simple. Now, there can be training binders in the trucks too. This is how we mow a lawn. This is how we do this service in simple checklist form. But everything I'm talking about now is mainly operations manager and up. Like, here's how we handle things on the computer that are customer facing. Does that help answer that a little
Yeah,
bit?
to me it does. To me, I would be a little nervous if I had a system or system structures that were so busy and complex that I needed AI to go find and reference
Sure.
that system for my employees. Now, the answer to the question is Google Notebook's a great tool where I can upload all of my processes and procedures, and then I can, like in a quick, like maybe if I'm on the phone and I'm like, oh, what's the answer to that question again? I can go reference. that quickly through Google Notebook. But again, the purpose of procedures is not necessarily to be a database of frequently asked questions. That would be a separate document.
Yes.
This is
Yep.
a lot more about step by step how we move through a process, and in this case, a procedure. And then, it should have everything linked there from the master systems document. I should be easily be able to reference all of that. Now, there's another
Yeah.
functionality, which is, hey, I'm on the phone and I can't remember what's our pricing on fescue again. And to be able to easily reference that, I know some companies that have used Google Notebook as the tool, the AI tool where you can upload all of your documents, and then Google Notebook, it's kind of like an AI, but it only references the documents you've uploaded so you can get accurate information. The only
Yeah.
warning again is it's only as good as we update it regularly. So in similar fashion, we would have to have a rhythm where we're updating all those frequently asked questions. We're updating all the pricing, whatever question answers to the questions in that document as well. So again, whatever we put in there, we need a master systems document moment where we say, all right, who owns it and how often are we reviewing it to make sure it's accurate?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Thanks, Anthony. Any other
Absolutely.
questions before we log off, gents? We went a little bit over our time. Thank you, everyone. Have a great season. We love you guys. And as always, go do more good. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.